It feels wrong to me to be focused on anything other than the great mission that we are trying to accomplish right here. The great mission is simple. It is that the Jubilee year begins on October 12th. For the next year, from October 12th until the year after that, we are supposed to be living in a state of Sabbath, in a state of Wu Wei. That's an Eastern term, means without force, without forcing ourselves. Not listening to the superego, but getting in touch with the true soul within, without worries, without concerns. Before that, during the month of Elul, the Jewish month of Elul, which begins in less than 2 weeks, we are supposed to have a global reconciliation. I've discussed a little bit in various videos how it can be done. And before that, we are supposed to show proof of concept by resolving the Israel-Palestine issue, which shouldn't be so hard if we just forget about the words Israel and Palestine and focus upon all of us as human beings. I feel like I have gone as far as I can, and I have immensely shared my limitations and why I need your help, and I've also shared why it can be done. And yet, it still has not been done. I've done everything I could. I need your help. I don't know what's missing. But in the meantime, perhaps we can study some of the prophets. They might give us some insight. The book of Isaiah was the most important book before the destruction of the Second Temple. The book of Isaiah, we have a complete copy of it dug up in the Dead Sea Scrolls from over 2,000 years ago. Isaiah speaks directly to us. Moses had the highest level of prophecy, but Moses was speaking to a people very different from us. They had just come out of 430 years of learned hopelessness, and they were supposed to conquer a land. They were supposed to begin afresh. They were told precise instructions what to do, but it's incredibly hard when you come from that much trauma. Isaiah is speaking to us living in a civilization and saying that we have messed up terribly, and we can and must wake the heck up and fix things. Let's hear what Isaiah has to say, starting with chapter 1, verse 1. Chazon Yeshעיה ben Amoz. See, this original line was probably not written by Isaiah. It was written by somebody introducing the book. Chazon Yeshעיה ben Amoz. This is the vision of Isaiah, the son of Amos. Asher Chaza, who had his visions, al Yehuda, on Judea, which is where the word Jew comes from today, Judea, V'Yerushalayim, and Jerusalem, B'yamei Uziyahu, Yosam, Achaz, Yechizkiyahu, in the days of those 4 kings, Malchei Yehuda, the kings of Judea. You see, up until the year 722 BC or BCE, I know a lot of people care, I don't. But up until the year 722 BC, there were 2 kingdoms for the Jews. There was Israel in the north and there was Yehuda in the south. This is speaking as Israel is being destroyed. Israel is being taken away. There's no more Israel in the north. So he's speaking only to Yehuda, and he's focused on Jerusalem, which is supposed to be the eye of the world in terms of proper living and justice. And he doesn't tell us exactly when he spoke. Lots of other prophecies tell you the exact year, the exact month, the exact day. Sometimes even we know the time of day that a prophet was spoken to. Over here we're told these are the words of Isaiah, the son of Amoz, and he spoke over the course of this span. In other words, it applies to us all for all eternity. Shimu shamayim. Listen, O heavens, v'ha'azinu eretz, and give your ear over, O earth. Ki Yehoah diber, for Yehoah has spoken. Bonim gidalti, sons I have raised. V'romamti, and I have lifted them up. V'heim pashu bi, and they have sinned against me. This is a straight-up reference to Parshas Ha'azinu from the 5 books of Moses. I will put a little thingy up there to link to a video called something like You Won't Believe This Rabbi's Claim, where I read the verses that Isaiah is here referencing. You know what those verses are? They're unbelievable. Tell me any other people on earth that have anything like that. They are a song that the Jews in the desert were told to memorize. And the words of the song essentially are God telling the nations of the earth, the instructions that I gave my people are just and correct. And they, however, are blemished because they are human, just like you, nations of the earth. You are all my children, but they are my firstborn children. And therefore I gave them these instructions. And if you see that they are actually living out some kind of instructions, but that the world is not yet in a messianic utopian state, the reason is because they are failing to understand it correctly. We, the Jews, are supposed to tell the whole world it's our fault. That's literally what it is. And that's literally what Isaiah is doing right here, referencing back from those 5 books of Moses. If you see that original video that I put the little clip up there for, you'll know what I'm talking about. God goes on to say, Yada shor koinehu, an ox knows its owner. Now we have with pets, that's the easiest way to look at it. We have a hard time thinking of God as our owner because we think in terms of slavery. Slavery was a bad form of ownership. And yet, we generally don't mind people talking about their pets as being an owner of the pet, because we recognize this is someone who cares very much about the pet. The pet can't really take care of itself on its own, and therefore we're okay with the term owner. We understand that it means someone who loves the pet and cares for the pet and is doing the most that it can for it. That's the kind of ownership that we're referring to. So, Yada shor koinehu, an ox knows its owner. The chamor, and even a donkey, evos ba'alav, knows who gives it food, who prepares its crib. Yisrael, but Israel, lo yada ami, my nation does not know, lo hisbonein, he doesn't understand. Hi! That's a word that's untranslatable. It's a shout. It's a lamenting shout. Hi! Goy choite, sinning nation. Am keved avoin, a nation that is heavy with iniquity. Zera mereim, the seed of those who do evil. Banim mashchisim, sons who do destruction. Ozvu es Yehoah, who have left the true path of Yehoah. Ni'atzu es Kedosh Yisrael, they have spurned the holiness of Yisrael, of Israel. Nazoiru achar, they have made themselves strangers by turning their back on God. Almet tuku od, what are you trying to get beaten for more? Tosifu Sarah, stop turning aside. Kol rosh lecholi, every head is pained. V'chol levav davi, and every heart feels hopeless. Mikaf regel, from your heel, v'ad rosh until your head. Ein bo metom petza v'chabura umaka tria. There is nothing that doesn't have a wound, or a bruise, or an open wound, with foreign projectiles in it, or pus coming out. Lo zoru, the foreign elements or the pus are not being removed. V'lo chubashu, and the wound or bruise is not being tied up. V'lo rukha bashemen, nor are you even putting salve on it to start healing the wound. Artzachem shemama, your nation is laid waste, your land is laid waste. Orechem srufos eish, your cities are burnt with fire. Ad maschem lenegdechem zorem ochlemosa, your land before your very eyes, foreigners are eating of it. Ushmama, and making waste of it. Kima pachazorim, as strangers are wont to do, like as people do with a rental or with a car rental that they have insurance on, not caring about this land of yours. Vinosra vast Sion, and the daughter of Zion, another poetic term for the Jews or the Israelites. Vinosra vast Sion kesuka, like a tent, vakerem, inside the vineyard. That's all they've got is a little tent. Kimluna, like a booth, v'miksha, in a huge cucumber field. Ke'ir netzura, like a city that is besieged. And the people reply and say, Lule Yehoah Tzavaos, if only Yehoah, normally Tzavaos is translated either as stars or as the hosts. I don't know why we still need these ancient translations. It means essentially the one that is the owner of everything. Yehoah Tzavaos, there is nothing not under his command. That's what it was with the plagues in Egypt and subsequently in the desert. God showing one by one, there is not a separate sea God. There is not a separate lice God. There is not a separate earthquake God. There is not a separate volcano God. It's all part of one unified system. Hashem Tzavaos, that's what it means. Armies, literally. In other words, he's the chief commander of all the armies, of all things. So the Jews say, Lule, if only Yehoah Tzavaos, Hosir lanu srid had left, if lule Yehovah Tzavaos Hosir lanu srid, if Yehovah Tzavaos had not left us this small remnant, kimat kistom hayinu la'amora daminu. You remember Sodom and Gomorrah in the book of Genesis? The Jews are saying, God left us just a little bit better off than Sodom and Gomorrah. Literally, lule, if only, Yehovah Tzavaos, Yehovah, the commander-in-chief, had not Hosir lanu srid, left us a small remnant, kimat kisdom hayinu, we would almost be as bad off as Sodom, which was overturned with gufras v'melach, fire and sulfur and salt. Hayinu la'amora daminu, we would be similar to Amorah. You remember there were Sodom and Gomorrah and 3 other places? So the Jews are saying, oh, it's our fault. Now here's the thing, when people who are non-Jews read this, it's easy to say, oh boy, those Jews are really bad people. I implore you not to make that error. Then you'd be saying that God made an error choosing the Jews, which would be a pretty big thing to say. I would implore you to look at this and say, especially if you yourself have been reading the Bible, since the time of Yehoshua from Nazareth, the Bible has not been a secret. You have access to it too. And if you are not yet perfect and your society is not yet perfect, then it's probably not right to blame the Jews for their imperfections. I believe, however, that I can do so, because I have spent my life in many ways trying to, enough about me. So the Jews say, we would almost be like Sodom and Gomorrah. They're looking for sympathy here. Now hear what Isaiah responds to them. Shimu devar Yehoah katzine sdom ha'azinu toras Eloheinu am Amora. Listen to the word of Yehoah, you leaders of Sodom. Give your ear over to the Torah of our God, you nation of Amorah. Lama li rov zivchechem. Why do I need your many sacrifices? Yomar Yehoah. Yehoah says, Savati, I am full. I'm busting with your olos. That's the complete offering where the whole thing goes up to God. Elim, these rams, the chelev mereim, and the fats of your best animals. V'dam porim, and the blood of your cows, ukvosim, and the lambs, va'atudim, and the he-goats, loy chafotzti, I never wanted them. You missed the whole point of what sacrifices are. Sacrifices are supposed to get you into a certain state where you end up coming out a whole different kind of person. It's not an exchange. It's not, you don't deal with money changers. You might be familiar with that, those of you who are Christian. Isaiah's concerns continued for a very long time. It's not a technical ritual. Lo chafatzti, God is saying. I never wanted these things. They were never the point. Ki savo liros panai, when you come to see my face, in other words, you come up to Jerusalem to the temple, mi bikesh zos miedchem. Who requested these of you? Ramos chatzerai, to trample upon my courtyard. Lo sifu. Havi minchas shav. Stop bringing these empty gifts. Ketores, your delicious smelling incense. To'evahi, it disgusts me. To'evahi li, it's a disgust unto me. Chodesh, every month. V'Shabbos, and every Sabbath. Kro mikra, you read from your scriptures and you make solemn proclamations. Lo uchal oven va'atzara. I can no longer abide these iniquitous assemblies. Chodshechem, every month you bring me. Umoadechem, and on your holidays. Sono nafshi, God is saying, my soul hates them. Hayu alai letorech, they are a burden to me. Nil'esi neso, they are disgusting for me to have to carry all these sacrifices. Uviforshchem kapechem, and when you spread out your hands, alim einai, I will hide my eyes, mikem, from you. Gam sarbu tefillah, Even if you increase in the amount of blah, blah, blah prayer, Eineni shomea, I will not listen, because yedechem domim mala'u, your hands are full of blood. Now you understand the original sacrificial intent has your hands full of blood. You can see it in some old movies about Rome and other places. You're covered in blood. That's part of the thing. It's part of what's supposed to overwhelm you. God's not impressed with this blood from sacrifices at all. God's saying it's worthless. It's more than worthless. It's disgusting to me. Your hands are covered in human blood. Rachatzu, wash up. Hizaku, get clean. Hasiru roa me'alalechem, get rid of this evil that is upon you. Mineged einai chidlu hara, from opposed to my eyes, stop doing evil. Limdu hetev, study good. Dirshu mishpat, seek justice. Ashru chamotz, take care of the oppressed. Shiftu yasom, rivu almana, argue and seek justice for the widow and the orphan. Lechuna, God is saying to the people, let us go together, please. Vinivokcha, let's discuss this out. That's a very important word here. It's the root word of tochacha, lahochiach. People often think it means reprove, that if you see someone doing something wrong, you should shout at them. It doesn't. It means discuss it out in a way that it becomes clear and obvious, and everyone understands, what their other person's perspective. Everything is clear. That's what God says. Let's get together and work this out. L'chuna v'nivakcha. Come, please, let's go together and figure this out. Yomar Yehovah, says Yehovah. And then, im yihiu chatechem kashonim, even if your sins are as red as crimson dye, kasheleg yalbinu, they'll become as white as snow. Im ya'adimu ketolah, and if they are as ruddy red and disgusting as a worm, katzemer yiu, they shall be like pure white wool. Im tovu ushmatem, if you agree and you come and listen, tuv ha'oretz tochelu, you will eat of the goodness of life. Ve'im timoanu, but if you refuse, umarisem, and you rebel, cherev tu'uklu, you will eat the sword. Ki pi Yehovah diber, for the mouth of Yehovah has spoken.